Hey there, I'm Sarah Holbrook. I'm the Executive Director of the Pinhead Institute here in Telluride, Colorado. And guess what I get to do? I get to interview the mayor of Telluride, Sean Murphy.
Hi, Sarah.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah,
and you?
I'm doing very
Good.
well. It's been a gorgeous actual summer here in Telluride.
You know, suddenly June hit
I
and
know.
the snow stopped and then everybody showed
snowing
up.
all May, and then June has been kind of gorgeous, and now already July's been kind of beautiful. We were all worried, of course, that it was going to go right from winter to monsoon. But we've had beautiful sunny days, haven't we?
Yeah, no, I mean, in fact,
If
we're
you're
enjoying
not
one
here,
of them today.
You should come right now because it's beautiful here right now.
Exactly.
So what's going on in the town of Telluride? You guys
Well,
have had a
since
recent council meeting?
Last we talked, we've got a couple things to talk about.
Good.
So we'll start with what's already happened, what's happening now, and then what's going to happen in the next couple days, weeks.
Sounds very sensible. Let's do it that.
So historically, as we all know, some of us were inconvenienced at night with the spur resurfacing project. We completed that within approximately 1 week. The labor was all performed at night, so and it was all done before bluegrass.
Oh, wow.
So it was on time, on budget, so that's $1.6 million of your tax money that is
Nice.
now going to last, presumably, or it's our assumption and understanding that we'll have 10-year life out of that new overlay.
Oh, great.
So we'll have 10 years to enjoy that. So sorry to those neighbors in Eider Creek and elsewhere that were inconvenienced and perhaps sleep interrupted or deprived, but the good news is it's done, and yeah, we can all move beyond that.
Yeah, smooth
So-
sailing on that spur.
And then speaking of bluegrass happened. It went off without a hitch. Actually, we have a new catering facility, a new restroom facility.
Yes, everybody's very excited
Both of
about
which
that.
were
all around the
highly-
all around the town park stage area. It was stage 2 of the town park stage renovation.
Exactly. Now we're all done with that project, thankfully. And the reviews for the first user group, which was bluegrass, were actually very positive. So I walked through while they were using it, both the kitchen facility and, of course, the restroom
Did you wear
facility.
a hairnet and wash your hands?
No, I was far enough away from
Okay,
any prep.
yeah, exactly.
So they were grilling on the backside, outside, and then in the interior they were dishwashing.
Oh, sweet.
And then there was another tent they set up along between the between that facility and the town park stage for their pantry.
Speaking of stage, if you can hear a little bit of background noise, I'm not sure if you can. It's the sound check because we're in the Mountain Village Telluride TV location, and they're about to have their summer series, concert series
yeah.
happening outside in just a little bit. Not quite yet, but if you hear a little bit of noise, that's what it is.
So don't be alarmed.
Yeah, exactly. It's all okay.
So bluegrass went well.
Bluegrass, excellent.
No major issues.
You know, the Pinhead Climate Institute sold offsets to people who traveled there, so that was kind
that's
of nice.
excellent.
Yeah, it was a great collaboration with the
And
bluegrass
do you know
people.
what
They're very
percentage
green.
of the waste from that thing was landfill diverted?
Tell me, a very small percentage. I bet they're so good.
70%.
Oh, was diverted. Yes,
yes.
exactly. So only 30% went to the dumps, and
Correct.
everything else was composted or recycled.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So
They're very responsible.
we can always do better,
friends.
but
Yeah.
that's actually
Yeah.
something to be proud of. And
Yeah, for sure.
hats off to our Parks and Rec staff and to everybody else who manages that process and to those who have
And
the
the-
foresight to put
Yeah,
these
and the
regulations
Bluegrass
in
Green
place.
Team. Yeah, they're so serious about it. They have a sustainability officer now.
Oh,
Yeah, somebody who's just
was
working on
not even aware of
sustainability.
that.
She's fabulous.
that's wonderful.
I know,
Good.
it's so nice. Yeah,
Excellent.
exactly.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ferguson, for
Yeah.
having that person within the organization too.
Yeah,
So we look
exactly.
forward to partnering with them for many years to come.
Yes, exactly.
So speaking of busy
Okay.
activity,
Busy activity.
construction update.
Yes.
So at the last town council meeting, a few weeks back, we were informed that there are currently 136 construction permits that are active. Most of those are actually
Wait, let me wrap my head around
remodels.
that. 136 construction permits.
Right.
We're talking about like individual people who are building things.
Right.
Or
Now, many of
fixing
those are
things.
remodels.
Okay,
so
got
they're
it.
taking place within, four walls, and nobody is really impacted except for deliveries, et cetera,
Yeah.
or work people coming and parking.
Yeah, trucks and things
So,
like that.
but on the town side, I'm really happy to report that we are on schedule and on budget to complete both the SMPA project in
Yes.
November, as well as the Lot B project, probably in October.
Yes, they're both
So-
up there. You can see them. They're really looking like structures that people are going to live in
Exactly.
or work in.
And frankly, the
or
Lot B
paint
project,
in.
the savings that we've already realized in terms of like the speed of the construction and the time value of money effectively, we've invested some of that because we had the budget, we had the capacity to do it, into upgrading some of the interior finishes, upgrading fixtures and appliances within the units. So that's actually going to be quite a desirable, incredible
Yeah.
outcome
How are
too.
people going to get to live in Lot B in those
So
houses?
both of those are going to be subject to a lottery.
And
so
are they both purchases or
they're
are
both
they
purchases,
rentals?
yeah.
Okay, got
so
it.
there are 10
How
units.
many units? Yeah.
10 units at the SMPA location and 16 units at the Lot B location.
Okay. And how
So
big are the 16 at the Lot B location?
There are 10 3-bedrooms, 2 4s, 2 and 4 2s.
Yeah, that's a lot of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there'll be a nice mix, and then we've got different AMIs in each of those locations, so the area mean income, so that you don't just have one tranche of whatever socioeconomic spectrum that you might imagine. So we want very variegated AMIs within each of those projects, and that's
now.
what
What
we will
happens
have.
if all of a sudden you get hugely successful and you start making more money than you did when you bought into the place? Do you have to sell it and move elsewhere?
There are income and there's actually no, when you purchase, there's not an income limitation in the future years, but there is an asset limitation. And there's always an employment requirement. So for ownership of deed-restricted housing within the town of Telluride, you're required to work at least 1,400 hours per year. And if you're renting, however, it's only 1,000 hours per year.
Got it.
So in these cases, these will be all rental, these will be all for sale units, so therefore the 1,400 employment hour per year requirement will apply, and then your assets can exceed no more than 2 times the purchase price, the original purchase price of the unit. So, to your point, theoretically, if you start doing extremely well and you're a very good saver instead of a spender, you could find yourself bumping up against that cap.
Yes, let's penalize the savers and give a pass to the spenders.
Well, that is a policy question that some of us have wrestled with, and frankly, it's something that the Telluride Housing Authority subcommittee should hear about if people are truly concerned about that.
Yeah.
You know, you might recall to some consternation and certain other community angst, we revisited the guidelines approximately 2 years ago, and there were certain amendments that were adopted, some of which actually will apply to these for sale units. The critical one that most people seem very focused on, and I'm having heartburn with it as well, is the fact that as a single person household, you're no longer eligible to purchase a 2-bedroom unit.
Dang, so you can only have a 1-bedroom if you're a single person.
If you're a single
household.
person, right.
Okay.
Unless, and here's the caveat, you agree that you'll always rent out the other room to a qualified renter.
And that
So,
would be somebody who's employed locally.
Someone who's employed locally 1,000 hours a year.
Yeah.
So it's,
which is nice for the renter, but tough for the homeowner.
it's a tension, and it's something that a lot of people have sort of expressed some consternation on, and those guidelines get revised every 2 years, so next year they're up again.
Got it.
So we'll have another community bite at the apple to say, is this working, or is this having effects that we don't really like? But that aside, those projects are going to come online this fall.
Soon.
And they'll
So
be done,
there's
and no
some
more
way-
construction impacts from those things.
So there's a way to register for the lottery that's pretty clear, will be
Yeah,
clear
if you
by
go
this
to the
fall.
SMRHA website, we lost our SMRHA executive director, and so there's a staff that's in place that is, there's some continuity there, and so they've been asked to pick up the slack and to manage the lottery process. And the regional housing, or sorry, the town housing authority subcommittee has been trying to work closely with them to make sure that nothing falls, between the cracks.
Yeah.
But it's a process that has been obviously done before here, but we just want to make sure that it goes smoothly, we get it right, and that there's no drama or hiccup.
Right, exactly. We
So-
don't like drama here.
But
So what else? Tell me the
also
other exciting
looking
headlines.
Sort of headline-wise, sales tax is rocking.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about
we
that.
are 15%
Wow.
ahead of where we were last year.
Yes, and last year
So,
wasn't bad.
Last year was amazing.
Yeah.
We pulled in we had a record sales tax receipts year. That was over $7 million last
Wow.
year.
So let's remind our audience, the sales tax revenues go to,
The operating general fund.
right,
So
keeping
that-
the lights on, paying your
the
salaries,
employees.
that kind of thing.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, that's great.
Real estate transfer tax is not quite as rosy. We're down 4% from where
But
we were last year.
year was very robust.
Last year was very robust. We pulled in almost a record amount as well. That was approximately $6 million last year.
And that goes
So
to big
that goes to
capital
capital projects.
expenses.
So, for example, speaking of those capital projects,
Like,
I've been
for
getting
example, the
all
sewer.
sorts of calls. There's a new sewer line going in the alley behind Colorado Avenue in the 500 block of Colorado Avenue,
West or east?
west.
Okay.
So, thankfully, since you haven't seen it, there are hopefully
Right.
very small impacts that only
Yeah.
those immediate neighbors have been unfortunately caused to bear. But we're doing that. You probably have seen if you've
How
driven
old
down
are the
Main
old
Street.
sewer lines? That's what I want to know. I think that
Like
that's kind of a fascinating bit of history. Speaking of,
They
my
are-
daughter's volunteering at the History Museum this summer, helping them with their collections. What ends up happening is a lot of cool Telluride families find neat things in their closet, and they bring it over to the museum and say, here, take a bit of our history, and nobody logs it. So now my daughter's helping log it. Not nobody logs it. It sometimes gets to be a difficult task to keep everything logged and up to date. So she's working on that. Isn't that cute?
Well, that's actually great. No,
Yeah.
and that's an institution that's underloved, I believe.
I love
so
the museum. They do so many nice things.
The counterpoint to that, though, is this is anecdotal, but I've heard that during the 4th of July 4-day weekend, the museum had amazing visitation.
Yes, exactly.
So,
And they had a lot of great events. They had the root beer float after the parade, and then
Yep.
they had the Tomboy Bride celebration last Friday, which was super cute. Let me take another little aside to say the 4th of July, you'll notice my fingernails still. And the reason that I have these beautifully polished fingernails is because I was the Grand Marshal of the Telluride 4th of July parade. It's very exciting.
well, that dwarfs the mayor's float, but
Probably not, actually. We did have a lot of cute pinheads in the truck with me. It was pretty adorable.
did you throw candy out?
No, no. In fact, that's one of the questions from the community. Why candy? It's bad for kids, and the plastic is.
I've heard people within your
messy.
own family are very concerned about that, and so I will, you know.
And what can we throw though? Apples? I don't know.
Well, what
Pine cones.
we'll find out. We actually have a huge sort of stash, so to speak, of the nylon bags that are
nice.
recyclable
Yes.
shopping bags.
That's a great
and so
thing to throw
that
out.
would be what I would ask the town manager if we could do that.
Yeah.
Thus far, it's just been the mayor of Mountain Village and me just like buying the candy ourselves and distributing it ourselves
Right.
softly and underhandedly.
Yes, right. You have to be
not
very
really
careful not to-
underhandedly in a,
Right,
in a bad
exactly.
sense,
Not the
but
bad sense.
in the
yes.
good way.
In the good way of not
So-
hitting your eye and putting it out. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I was told from observers on site that the Telluride side of the distribution was more gentle than the Mountain Village side. But anyway,
Okay, yeah, let's not draw any
and that might be
conclusions
why
there.
the Mountain Village mayor was targeted more aggressively with the squirt guns.
Oh man, I got
So-
it right in the face.
I
Yeah.
was really lucky. I got a balloon in the shoulder from a rooftop.
Oh.
And but otherwise, the Mountain Village mayor actually took shelter, cover behind me, so I ended up with a wet back.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there was very little frontal assault.
Yeah,
this year.
no, I got a huge full right in the face, but it was from the children of one of our big pinhead donors. So I said, "Bring it on, bring it on! I'm
You
ready
know,
for more."
Someone asked me after the parade if I would be willing to do a dunk tank.
Oh, yeah.
And so you and I should do that
Oh,
sometime.
absolutely! All the kids would
We can
throw
make
at
it a
me. All the
pinhead
grown-ups
fundraiser.
would throw at you. Let's do
Okay,
it.
all right,
Okay, next
deal.
4th of July, we'll be in Town Park in the dunk tank.
All right,
I love a
perfect.
dunk tank. It's so fun.
And looking forward.
yes, let's talk about
and
looking
this was,
forward now.
This is something coming up for those of you who see this after July 16th, and you're a little too late. But on July 16th, the Sunnyside Project Working Committee, so that's the joint venture for the next housing project out at the Sunnyside lot next to Eider Creek.
Right.
The county owns the land. The town
So
is
it's
going to build
past
the housing.
Hillside before the traffic circle.
Right.
Got it.
It's immediately past. Well, it's beyond Hillside and immediately past Eider Creek.
Got it.
So it's contiguous on the west side of
Eider
Eider Creek.
Creek, yep.
And I think it's approximately a 2-acre parcel. So at least
How
the
many
buildable
houses
portion.
could it be?
So we're targeting about 20.
Oh,
So
and is it townhouses or is it apartments?
it would be townhouses.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right next to each other.
Yeah.
I'm from Brooklyn. I like a townhouse. I'm partial to a townhouse.
I'm fond of them too.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Good use of
But
space.
so
Nice to have neighbors.
that will be an open meeting. So that'll be at Rebecca Hall.
Say again, when is it exactly?
It's July 16th.
July 16th.
Yeah,
okay.
in the morning.
Okay,
So
great.
keep that on
Talking
your
about
radar.
what to do about Sunnyside, how many units, that
Exactly,
kind of thing.
putting out,
rental or buy.
finalizing a request for proposals so
Oh,
that we
neat.
can start soliciting from design build teams the submissions and consideration of whichever multiple teams then for that project. So
Nice.
that's coming up. Also on the sort of prospective look, the Southwest Area Master Plan,
Yes.
which started
That's
with the site walk.
Carhenge
We've had
and- yeah.
2 days of meetings with some of these consultants, DHM out of the Front Range and Carbondale and Durango. That's where their team is from. So they are coming. We're doing a conference call with them on July 16th as well. Then on July 30th and the 31st, there will be open public meetings. So there'll be a morning session and an afternoon session. The afternoon session, the 6 to 8 p.m. session, is more of the public, presentation of what the consultant's ideas are and whether the public likes this concept or doesn't like that concept.
It's for a sidewalk going down Mahoney and then also rebuilding the Carhenge area?
It's actually looking at all town-owned land, basically to the west of South Davis Street.
Got it.
And to up to Mahoney.
Yeah.
So and south of Colorado Avenue.
Got it.
So a lot of it is how do we circulate pedestrians more safely and bicyclists more safely, because that's a tight pinch there, and the one-way traffic flow with vehicles going one way, but pedestrians and bikes going often in the opposite direction.
Yes.
As well as the river trail. Is there room to shift the river trail to the other side, perhaps, of the river? So these things are all very much open, percolating questions right now. No decisions have been made. The community has basically had a chance to have some interaction thus far, and this is the next chance. So July 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. if you want to come for the public presentation. If you want to come to the other portion of the meeting that morning, it's like 9 to 12 on July 30th. Then there'll be a review session on July 31st in the morning at 9 o'clock.
And are there plans somewhere people can walk in and take a look, or is it online, or what's
there is
the
a
visuals
website
that
for
will
it,
represent it?
The exact address escapes me, but
Okay, somewhere in
if
the
you
town
go
of
to the Town of
Telluride,
Telluride's
it'll
Planning
explain.
Department link, the Planning Department link on the town website will send you to the dedicated website where all of the data gathering exercises
Yeah.
summarized, and where these conceptual recommendations or alternatives will also find them be posted for people to
So, and these
review at
meetings
their
that are end of
convenience.
July, where are they happening? In
Rebecca Hall.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
So-
Great, yeah. So if you want to know more about that, show up. If you want to have a voice in that, show up, right?
Absolutely.
What
yeah.
else is going on?
The Ride Festival is this weekend.
I know, it's going to be so fun. Great
Widespread
bands.
panic.
I know, very exciting.
Let's hope that's not literally what happens. But I know they're a very animated and active group of fans.
Yeah.
We also have the next weekend is Art and Architecture Weekend in
Oh,
Telluride.
yes. And it's the
So-
Pinhead Science of Cocktails Party, July 20th.
Ooh.
So much fun.
Okay.
You'll have to come as my guest.
I'm actually speaking at a Colorado Bar Association conference in Vail that day about Telluride's affordable housing progress since the
Okay,
1980s.
go brag on that.
No.
I'll just have to save you a couple of cocktails.
As long
for
as you do
next
that, I'll
day.
be happy to.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to pay you for them, even though it'll be a little late.
Exactly.
in
No, it's a
consuming them.
great party. It's really fun. So that's,
that's
the
good. So
Saturday
where
night
is that?
of
Is that
Art and
Elks Park?
Architecture. No, it's in the Transfer Warehouse.
Ooh,
We're doing it kind of
excellent.
in conjunction with Art and Architecture. So it's the Transfer Warehouse
Yep.
is owned and operated by Telluride Arts.
We can now
So-
say that
yes,
owned because
exactly.
they closed on that building,
I know,
which
it's
is
very
terrific
exciting
news.
for them. Yeah. So we love to be able to use it as a party venue. So
Yep.
we're taking it over that Saturday night of Art and Architecture.
And speaking of Telluride Arts, my gosh, they had, what was it, July 6th? They had a party, that evening party at like
Yes.
10 p.m.
That was so much
They
fun.
had the ski and golf members in there from like 7 to 10, and then the normal people like
normal
us were
people
allowed
came
in
at
at 10.
10.
So
Exactly. And
that
it was worth it. It was super
an awesome
fun.
DJ from New York.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And they had beautiful projections on the walls of old Telluride. It was wonderful. It was so
Yeah.
much fun. Great art.
I would agree.
Amazing contributions from Dan Collins and a bunch of old-time Telluride folks getting
good.
together some videos. And Dan Collins was like scanning people with 3D scanning. It was totally Pinhead
Sounds
kind of
very
stuff.
STEM.
Yeah, exactly. Very STEM. Yeah, and Dan is I think the president of the Telluride Institute and a longtime semi-local, and then he's also an art professor at ASU. But it's his family that owns the Deep Creek Experimental Mine. And I think his mother was born in the museum when it was a hospital. So they're a longtime Telluride family.
I
Cool
would
family.
say so. Yeah, Telluride royalty.
I know, right? Exactly. Kind of like me now, Grandma.
So will that be an annual role for you?
No,
or,
but I think I get to
okay.
keep the title for the entire year until they pick a new one next July 3rd or whatever
Did you get
it
like
is.
a tiara or
I
some
didn't.
sort
I
of
wish
other?
I could have had
a sash?
and I would have liked to make a speech or something because I think
parade
I like
organizers
to talk.
take note.
Yeah, exactly. Next
It's
year,
not too
although-
late to get her a sash.
Yeah, I could still.
She could still appear in public and promote the parade for next year.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to.
One of the
Yeah.
other really cool things that happened was July 2nd, the Air Force Academy touring orchestra or touring
yes.
band was here, and they
Yes.
performed this amazing
Were
medley
they at
of.
Town Park Stage
They were on
or
Town
something?
Park
Yes,
Stage,
exactly.
yeah.
I saw that.
And it was something that came, together perhaps not so far in advance, and so therefore the notice for this concert was not wonderful, but the crowd size tripled. I had the honor of going backstage and meeting them and actually introducing them at the beginning of the concert. So I saw the crowd size at the beginning, then I joined the crowd, and at the end, it was 3 times the mass.
Neat, because people heard the noise and showed
all
up, and it was
4th of
beautiful
July
music.
weekend, people were coming up to me saying, "Thank you for doing that. Please have the town do that again."
Oh, neat.
So the takeaway on that is, I already asked. They only come through Colorado twice, even though they're based in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
They go to South Dakota in the other years, so not twice, every other
Every
year.
other year, got it. So we can't have them
hopefully
2020,
can have
but
them in
2021. Nice.
But there's a marching band,
Ooh.
so we have asked for next year's 4th of July parade for them to come and play and march, because we could use more music in the 4th of July
Yes,
parade.
absolutely. There's
So
noise. There's a lot of noise,
there's
but not
noise.
a lot of music.
And this year there was some high propulsion fire truck spawned water gunning.
Yes,
so the Norwood
definitely.
Fire Department
Yes.
took a very active role in this year's parade. So someone came up to me and said, "If you guys are doing this, all bets are off." And I'm like, "No, read the truck. It says Norwood.
Yeah,
it's not
not
Telluride's
us.
Fire
Yeah,
Department."
exactly.
So anyway,
So funny.
but
Yeah.
I hope everybody had a good time and everybody
Oh, it was a great
appreciated
parade.
that.
Yeah, and what a beautiful day. It couldn't have been more gorgeous, the 4th of July.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, you're
And
talking
so
about
right
the
after the
band. That was
4th,
amazing,
we also started some curb and gutter work along Main Street. So for those of you who might be concerned, and I have had some calls from some of the local merchants, there's the 200 West
Yes,
Colorado
I
block
saw that.
where we've taken the curbing out.
Yes.
That will replace. I've talked to Public Works about this a number of times, and the answer comes back, unfortunately, construction season overlaps with our high summer season, and that's really the only time to get this work done.
Right.
And so I'm much, I have great deal of empathy and sympathy for the merchants who were impacted. But the sidewalk is open along that block, for example. The sidewalk is not open on the residential block of the 400 block
Right.
of West Colorado as
Right.
well. So we're doing some curb work there. But by the time most of you see this, that'll all be done.
Right,
So
exactly.
it'll be a memory.
It goes
So
pretty quickly.
it's a
once it
36-hour cure process, so as soon as the concrete is poured.
So run and get your initials in there quick.
or your dog's paws.
Yeah, I do love that.
But wash them off after
Yeah,
they've...
yeah, right.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
want that.
No, we don't
Super
want
gluing
that.
your dog to
Yeah.
somewhere else would not be a good
Yeah,
idea.
no, not a good idea. Concreting
So,
them.
what's on your mind? What's on the community's mind?
Well, yeah, it's just kind of like busy summer season. I know there was some question about what happens with the proceeds of the, I think it's the proceeds of the alcohol sales in the town of Telluride have to stay in the town of Telluride now when they pair with a nonprofit. And so the question is, how is that playing out? Because I remember that was a town council agenda item that was voted yes on a couple of months back.
So Bluegrass is the first of the summer users of
Yeah.
town land to which that new ordinance applies. So just to back up the history of this is we, the town council, back in the spring, took up this issue. We had a couple of public meetings. We had 2 readings of an ordinance then that followed those public work sessions. And the takeaway, the unanimous conclusion of council was what we wanted to do is when a user group like Bluegrass or The Ride, for example,
Right.
this weekend, when they use town-owned land, then they apply for what's called a special event liquor license. The special event liquor license holder has to be a not-for-profit entity.
Right.
Colorado law, though, says you can be a nonprofit, but you don't have to be a tax-exempt, charitable organization. So what
Right.
we said
We
is
took it one step up.
we want to take and funnel this money down into qualified recipient charitable organizations. So we put in new rules that require 120 days after Bluegrass, for example, is finished. There has to be an accounting. There has to be a full, transparent disclosure of what the expenses were that were allocated to that nonprofit, so that we don't have over allocation of expenses into the nonprofit liquor license holder, and therefore much lighter expense burden placed on the for-profit, because these are often 2 arms on the same body. The nonprofit arm that gets the liquor license and then conducts the sale of alcohol in the town land, and then the for-profit promoter of whatever the festival is.
Sure.
So for the 2019 season, this will apply now to everyone who's using town-owned land, and so this will be the
So
first
any
year.
festival in Town Park, for
Yeah.
example.
So the Ride coming up, the Jazz Festival, Blues and Brews. So those are your 4 largest users. But
Yeah.
yes, so the idea is within 120 days, 95% of that net amount has to be distributed to qualified exempt organizations.
Yeah, and Bluegrass already does that with their tips jar, where they give it to 4 different.
That's a separate stream of
nonprofits.
revenue because that's not the sale of alcohol.
Oh, right,
That's
that's the
just
tips.
that's a tip. That's
Yeah,
a gift from
exactly.
whomever the purchaser is of the alcohol. So yes, you're right. They designate a charity, a different one each day, I think, that receives all the tips from their alcohol sales,
Yeah.
which we appreciate too. But the net profit from those alcohol sales, we decided needed to stay local. So 100% of that 95% that's distributed
Yeah.
out of these organizations, or up at least 95%, has to stay within the 50-mile radius of Telluride, unless the promoter, the festival organizer, comes to the full town council and gives us, shows us good cause. Why, perhaps, I can think of one example where there's a very worthy organization that's located in Memphis, Tennessee.
Right, that's about
that helps musicians who
right,
are
exactly. That's
indigent
very worthy.
and, yeah, so that sort of thing is fully envisioned as a permissible use, so long as town council is fully informed of it, and then we give our blessing to that. So, but the idea is we wanted to really tighten this up, and because all the impacts are 100% local of the use of town park land, then we wanted all of the benefit to stay local,
Right.
with a few exceptions permitted.
Yeah.
So you're right. We'll see this in action. The Liquor License Hearing Authority officer, Lois Major, will have the data at hand then, presumably, within 120 days of 2 weeks ago, and within 120 days of this coming weekend for the ride, for example. And so by the end of the calendar year, we'll hopefully see all this
Funneling
properly filtering
Yeah.
down to where the council decided it needs to go.
Sure.
So,
Another question from the community: what is your favorite hike?
you know, I'm really just kind of a boring Judd Wiebe person.
I do love Judd Wiebe. There's nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
It's a great hike.
It's
it really
just so
is.
majestic, you know,
Yeah.
just to look down on the town that
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
and to see where you live from a very different vantage point.
Yes,
it
it's
never
so
gets
fun.
old.
Yeah, it really
So-
does, and I always stop and look at all the lookouts. Now, here's an addition to it. If you go up Tomboy to the east,
Yes.
you go a couple of switchbacks, and then you see a trail that goes up and to the left, and you go up there. It's called Clay's Way, or sometimes
Okay.
people call it Owl Creek, and it goes backwards down into the top of the Jeep Trail. That's the end of the Judd Wiebe hike, and then you can either just come down the Jeep. I call it the Jeep Trail, but whatever. You know, if you're doing the Judd Wiebe in the traditional clockwise manner,
Right.
it's the part where it's coming down for good, where it doesn't
Right.
go back up again, where it's got the bench for Tom Slocum and then comes out onto Tomboy. But so you can either do Clay's Way down into that, or you can then go in the opposite direction and do the rest of the 2/3 of the Judd Wiebe in the counterclockwise direction. And it's a very vertical at places, but it's also a gorgeous, lovely hike with a lot of meadows and a lot of trees and
Yeah.
forests and a different vantage point of town and the ski mountain and everything. It's quite
Okay,
lovely.
I'll
I
keep
just
that
did
in mind
the
for
other
my
day.
next
Yeah.
excursion out
Yeah,
there.
exactly. And it's not
Perfect.
a huge long trail that takes 10 hours. It's
So is that your
about-
favorite hike too, or
It's
what-
my new favorite hike. I mean,
Okay.
I really do have to say Judd Wiebe is the one that I end up going back to over and over again. Although Bear Creek has been really interesting this year with the huge
avalanche debris
avalanche
field,
and all
yeah.
the debris field that's now finally melted out a little bit. But it was crazy how the snow went across the river and there was no sign of the river, even though it was coming in from the top and going out from the bottom. You couldn't see it.
I don't know if this is accurate, but I was on the gondola yesterday with a group of visitors, and they were talking about the fact that they were told that the force with which the avalanche came down was equal to like a 300-mile-an-hour wind. And so it
Believe it.
just astonishes
Yeah.
me. That's a STEM question then for
Yeah.
somebody at Pinhead to tell
Exactly.
us.
We'll have somebody analyze that. It is quite remarkable, the force of that
Yeah.
avalanche and what trees it's knocked down. It's really worth it taking a hike up Bear Creek, and also the waterfall that it ends at is really going off right now. It's a beautiful scene up there at the top of the waterfall at the bottom of the waterfall at the top of the Bear Creek hike. It's really something spectacular.
Well, it seems like the snow melt from up on high is still quite substantial.
Yeah.
So given the river,
it's
the
super
flow
high.
that rip
Yeah.
along
Yeah.
through town. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the elk herds out there. Town is freaking majestic right now.
It's true.
Yeah.
It seems like one of the largest population of elk that I've
Yeah,
seen.
lots of little babies and everything. Super
Yeah.
cute. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, I mean, don't we love where we live?
We do.
Aren't we
All right.
lucky? Thank you
Well,
for being the
if
mayor.
you're not here, please come.
Yeah, exactly. How about that?
All right.
All right. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Sarah.
July 20th, the
Pleasure's
Pinhead
mine.
Science of Cocktails Party. Sign up for it online, pinheadinstitute.org.
Excellent. Or just get a rain check and you can pay her for the same thing. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.